This coin almost ended up in a handful of change, but it sold for millions of dollars. That's right. A tiny copper-colored penny, just like the ones you've tossed into a tip jar or left sitting on your car floor, has shocked the world of collectors. Because this particular 1988 Lincoln Memorial penny has been valued at up to $2.6 million. And the reason why will leave you absolutely speechless. At first glance, it looks ordinary. The same face of Abraham Lincoln we've all seen 1,000 times. The familiar memorial design on the back. The small D mint mark beneath the year 1988, showing it was struck in Denver. Nothing about it screams treasure. But hidden beneath its surface lies a mistake so rare, so mysterious, that when it was uncovered, the entire coin community froze in disbelief. It began when a collector noticed something strange. He was flipping through his rolls of pennies, hunting for small errors, the way treasure hunters scan the ground with a metal detector. And then he saw it. At first, it seemed impossible. Could the mint really have allowed this to slip through? But as he held it under the light, his hand shaking, he realized this was no ordinary penny. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The 1988 Lincoln Memorial penny contains one of the most dramatic and shocking mistakes ever seen. For reasons still debated today, the U.S. Mint accidentally used the wrong die, the metal stamp that imprints the coin's design. Instead of pairing the 1988 obverse with the correct reverse die, a leftover reverse from 1989 was mistakenly used in some Denver minted coins. This tiny detail, invisible to most eyes, transformed the penny from pocket change into a multi-million-dollar marvel. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify the discovery. And suddenly, a humble penny that could have bought you a single gumball was being whispered about in hushed tones as a piece of American treasure worth millions. Most people who own this coin have no idea. That's right. Right now, somewhere in the United States, tucked into a dusty jar or hiding in a forgotten wallet, are more of these rare 1988 pennies. And if even one of them makes its way into your hands, it could change your life forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine walking into a gas station, paying with pennies, and then realizing later you just spent a coin worth over $2 million. That nightmare has already happened. More than once. And it's why serious collectors never look at their change the same way again. First, the mint mark. Look for the small D beneath the year 1988. That tells you it was struck in Denver. But don't stop there. The true secret lies on the reverse side of the coin, in the tiniest details of the Lincoln Memorial. The 1989 reverse die has subtle differences in the design, differences that most people never notice. Look closely at the spacing, the shape of the letters, the style of the initials. If your 1988 penny carries the 1989 reverse, you're holding lightning in your hand. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Auction houses have seen bidding wars explode into the hundreds of thousands, sometimes even into the millions. And every time one of these coins surfaces, it makes headlines, reminding us that the rarest treasures are often the smallest. But wait, there's another twist. Counterfeits. When a coin is worth millions, the forgers come crawling out of the shadows. Fake errors, altered dates, manipulated mint marks. Collectors have seen it all. That's why authentication is everything. The only way to know for sure is to have your coin examined by a trusted grading service. Professional graders can detect details invisible to the naked eye, details that confirm whether your penny is the real deal or just another imposter. You're holding your coin, your heart racing, waiting for the expert to hand it back. And then, in that moment of silence, he says the words that could change your entire life. It's authentic. Suddenly, your world shifts. A penny you picked up without a thought is now worth more than most houses, more than some fortunes, more than a lifetime of savings. And it's not just the money. It's the story. Every great collector dreams of that moment, that discovery, that once-in-a-lifetime find that sets their name in history. And the 1988 D penny offers exactly that chance. Collectors whisper about it in online forums. Dealers swap rumors at shows. Some even believe there are still undiscovered rolls sitting in forgotten vaults, waiting to be opened. Could it be true? Could an untouched treasure chest of 1988 D pennies still be out there? The mystery deepens, and with it, the obsession. Think about the coins in your pocket, in your drawer, in that jar of loose change sitting on your dresser. Each one could be a ticket to a fortune. And the beauty of it is this: unlike rare paintings or hidden gems, you don't have to be a billionaire to get in the game. The treasure is already in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the person who dares to look closely enough. This is not just a coin. It is a symbol. A reminder that miracles don't always announce themselves with flashing lights. Sometimes, they come in the form of a small, copper penny, overlooked, underestimated, almost thrown away, until one person sees the truth. Every collector who ever struck it big started the same way, with curiosity, with patience, with the willingness to look where others did not. And if you're listening to this now, it means you're already on that path. Because now, you know the secret. Now, you know what to search for. And every coin you touch from this day forward could be the one that changes your destiny. Check your 1988 pennies. Look for the D. Flip them over. Study the reverse. Compare the lettering. Watch for that 1989 design hiding in plain sight. Don't rush. Don't assume. Because the tiniest detail, the one most people miss, is the one worth over $2 million. This coin almost slipped through someone's fingers at a gas station, but it didn't. Instead, it became one of the most shocking stories in coin collecting history. A simple, everyday penny. A 2015 Lincoln Memorial set with no mint mark. It should have been worth 1 cent. Nothing more. But this one carried a secret that turned a penny into a fortune worth up to $2.7 million. And tonight, I'm going to tell you how it happened, why collectors everywhere are scrambling to check their change, and how this very coin could be hiding inside your own home right now. But first, let me set the stage. 2015 was supposed to be just another year for the penny. Billions were struck, flooding into circulation. Most were ordinary, plain, unremarkable. But somewhere in that massive production line, something went wrong. Collectors would later whisper about strange die clashes, doubled features, off-metal strikes, errors so small, so microscopic, that only the sharpest eyes could spot them. But those tiny details are the difference between a worthless coin and a treasure worth millions. Now imagine this: a man in Ohio picks up his coffee at a convenience store. He pays with exact change, not even thinking twice. 1 penny, bright, copper-coated, brand new, slips from his hand onto the counter. The cashier almost throws it in the drawer. But then she notices something. Something about Lincoln's portrait looks unusual. She sets it aside, puzzled. Weeks later, that same coin would stun the numismatic world, because it wasn't just a penny. It was one of the rarest varieties ever documented. What detail could possibly make a 2015 penny worth more than a house, more than a luxury car, more than most people earn in a lifetime? The answer lies in a mistake so rare, most people don't even believe it exists. But it does, and collectors have been hunting for it ever since. Think about it. Every coin begins as a blank, a small round disc waiting for the strike of the dies. Normally, this process is precise, flawless. But in 2015, just a handful of blanks were struck with misaligned dies, doubled letters, and in one unbelievable case, on the wrong type of metal planchet. Altogether, a 2015 Lincoln penny, struck not on a zinc core, but on a leftover copper alloy, and that error alone turned a coin worth 1 cent into a fortune worth $2.7 million. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers rushed to auctions. Bidding wars erupted. The media exploded with headlines. The $1 million penny found in pocket change. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Because the story didn't end with one coin. Other 2015 no-mint mark pennies began surfacing with strange anomalies. Double dates, ghost-like outlines on Lincoln's jacket, reverse lettering that looked doubled or stretched. Each discovery fed the frenzy. Each new auction brought higher and higher prices. And here's the question burning in your mind right now. The answer is yes. But you need to know exactly what to look for before I reveal the checklist that could change your life. Let me share a twist that left collectors speechless. Point one coin, at first dismissed as ordinary, was almost tossed into a coin jar. A teenager, saving change for a new video game, dropped it into a plastic cup. Months later, his grandfather, an experienced collector, spotted something unusual in the shine of the coin. He pulled out a magnifier, and what he saw nearly stopped his heart. It was one of the rarest 2015 era pennies ever found. That teenager's simple coin jar had just become a vault holding over $1 million. Think about that for a second. How many pennies pass through your hands each week? Any one of them could be the key to a fortune. And here's the part that stunned even veteran dealers. Not all of these coins were discovered immediately. Some were overlooked for years before being recognized, which means they're still out there, waiting, hiding in plain sight. Now, let me guide you through the exact signs you need to check. First, look at the weight. A standard 2015 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams, but a rare copper error will weigh closer to 3.1 grams. That tiny difference is the giveaway. Second, check for doubling. Focus on the date, 2015, and the word, Liberty. If the letters appear thick, doubled, or blurred, you may be staring at a rare double die error worth tens of thousands or more. Third, study the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial design, if slightly off-center, misaligned, or showing ghost-like impressions, can signal a valuable minting mistake. And finally, look for color. Some of the rarest survivors have a deep, unusual copper red tone, different from ordinary zinc scents. Collectors were shocked to learn these little details could change their lives. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. A teenager's coin jar became a treasure chest, and an ordinary gas station transaction became a story whispered in the halls of coin shows for years. The rare 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny worth up to $2.7 million looks, at first glance, just like every other penny. It hides in plain sight. It blends in with the ordinary, waiting for someone bold enough, curious enough, patient enough to see what others miss. So tonight, when you finish this story, do one thing. Check your change. Weigh your coins. Look closely at every detail, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost disappeared into obscurity, yet today, it's valued at up to $2.8 million. It's one of the most shocking stories in modern coin collecting. Imagine a coin you've seen thousands of times. A simple brown penny from 1980, no-mint mark, nothing special at first glance. But inside that tiny copper circle hides a mystery so rare, it turned pocket change into a millionaire's dream. Collectors were stunned when the first report surfaced. A coin so ordinary looking, yet so extraordinary in value. People who saw it thought, "This can't be real. It's just a penny." But as the truth came out, the coin world was shaken to its core. Most of these pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That's why they carry no mint mark. Millions were made. They jingled in lunch boxes, passed through candy machines, and sat in jars for decades. But among them, a few carried hidden secrets, microscopic minting mistakes, overlooked details, tiny imperfections that turned them from spare change into once-in-a-lifetime treasures. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction, one of these 1980 no-mint mark pennies, in nearly flawless condition, sold for an amount no one could have predicted, climbing past hundreds, then thousands, until the gavel fell at a price that reached into the millions. A single penny, worth more than most people's homes. Dealers began hunting everywhere. Pocket change was suddenly treasure. People lined up coin shop counters, eyes wide, hands trembling, hoping they might be holding one of these million-dollar miracles. In 1980, the mint transitioned between copper and zinc compositions, and tiny striking errors slipped into circulation. A coin struck just slightly off-center, or with a double die, could be worth a fortune today. Under magnification, the date or lettering may reveal doubling, or the edges might carry anomalies invisible to the casual eye. But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. One man discovered his life-changing coin while cleaning out a desk drawer. He almost tossed the pennies into a coin jar, ready to take them to the bank. But something about the shine, the crispness of the strike, made him pause. He took it to a dealer, and within weeks, that penny turned into nearly $2 million. That single hesitation, that single second of curiosity, rewrote his future. Collectors whisper about these coins like buried treasure maps. The 1980 no-mint mark penny has become a legend because so many people walked past them without ever knowing. That's the haunting truth. Most of us have touched one, but never realized its power. But the story doesn't stop there. Some of these coins exhibit striking variations in color, a deep, almost red luster that tells experts it was preserved in pristine condition for decades. Others show the sharp, almost proof-like strike that shouldn't exist in a circulation coin. Those details send shockwaves through the collecting community, because it means a coin thought ordinary could, under the right conditions, break into the million-dollar range. And what happened next made headlines across the hobby. At another auction, bidding wars erupted. Dealers clashed, collectors pushed past their limits, and the humble penny transformed into the star of the night. When the final price was revealed, jaws dropped. Another record broken. Another ordinary penny proving itself extraordinary. Every 1980 penny you've ever seen could be a candidate. But the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $2.8 million treasure lies in knowing what to look for. The date must be crisp. The absence of a mint mark must be clear. And any sign of doubling, misalignment, or unusual shine could be the clue you've been waiting for. Collectors are rushing because the clock is ticking. Every year, more of these pennies are lost, damaged, or melted down. Every year, the chance of finding one in the wild grows slimmer. And yet, somewhere out there, sitting quietly in a coffee can, resting at the bottom of a drawer, lies another $1 million penny waiting to be found. But here's the part that still gives collectors chills. One penny, graded at the highest level, sold for more than $2.5 million. Think about that. A coin meant to buy a stick of gum or a stamp is now worth more than a sports car, more than a mansion, more than some people's lifetime savings. All because of a detail smaller than the eye can see. Why did the mint let them slip by? Some experts say it was the rush of production, others point to aging equipment, still others insist it was pure chance. But whatever the cause, the result is the same. A handful of coins now stand as million-dollar marvels. And here's what you need to know if you're searching. Hold your 1980 pennies under bright light. Look carefully at the numbers and the date. Are they doubled? Does the 0 look thicker than 9 stretched? Check Lincoln's profile. Is there shadow-like doubling in his hair or beard? Examine the edges. A coin struck slightly off-center could be a golden ticket. And above all, condition matters. The closer to perfect your penny is, the higher its value climbs. Every collector dreams of this moment. The moment when a coin, pulled from a jar, reveals itself to be not just a penny, but a portal to fortune. And that dream has already come true for a few lucky souls. The truth is, this coin could be anywhere. In a forgotten box, in an old piggy bank, or even resting in your pocket right now. Most people will never notice. Most people will spend it without a second thought. But those who look closer, those who understand the hidden value, may hold in their hands a life-changing treasure. The 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial Penny, under the right conditions, can be worth up to $2.8 million. Don't underestimate it. Don't ignore it. Look closer, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine, but instead, it sold for nearly $3 million. And it's not some ancient relic locked away in a museum. It's a modern penny. A 2020 Denver minted Lincoln Memorial Penny, hiding in plain sight, worth up to $2.9 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe it. And ordinary people began tearing through their change jars, wondering if they too were sitting on a fortune. Because this isn't just a story about a coin. It's a story about fate, about chance, about the possibility that something small, something forgotten, could suddenly change your life forever. But how did a simple penny, struck just 5 years ago, become one of the most sought-after treasures in the entire coin world? The answer begins with a mistake. A hidden flaw that only the sharpest eyes can spot. A flaw so rare, so shocking, that the coin-collecting community erupted in disbelief when it was confirmed. At the Denver Mint in 2020, billions of pennies were produced. Most were ordinary. They clinked through pockets, spilled across countertops, and disappeared into piggy banks. But somewhere in that endless stream, a handful of coins came out different. Something went wrong in the presses. A die was cracked, a strike was doubled, a surface was misaligned. To the untrained eye, nothing seemed unusual. But to those who know, to those who look closely, the error was unmistakable and priceless. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these flawed 2020 deep pennies surfaced in a routine coin roll. An everyday collector, a man who had been searching for years, spotted the faint doubling in the lettering. At first, he doubted himself. Could it really be? He placed it under magnification. The doubling leapt out at him, bold and undeniable. His heart raced. He knew at that moment he was holding not just a coin, but a miracle. The coin was authenticated. Experts declared it genuine. And when it hit the auction block, the room went silent. Bidding began low, cautious, hesitant. But then, like a fire, the numbers climbed. Hundreds. Thousands. Tens of thousands. The collector's dream was unfolding in real time. Dealers were calling in. Bidders were raising their paddles. And when the hammer finally fell, the crowd gasped. The final price, nearly $3 million for a coin most people would never have looked at twice. This tiny copper-plated treasure had rewritten the rules. It had proven that even in the modern era, when machines are precise and errors are rare, fortune still hides in unexpected places. Collectors were shocked. And suddenly, everyone wanted to know, how do I find one? But here's the catch most people miss. The 2020 D penny looks normal at a glance. You could hold it in your hand 100 times and never notice what sets it apart. The difference lies in the details. Look at the date. Look at the word liberty. Look at "In God We Trust." On the valuable varieties, the doubling is clear. Letters seem to shadow themselves, as if struck twice. Sometimes the mint mark itself appears thicker, distorted. And in some examples, the memorial design carries faint but unmistakable distortions, proof of a minting mishap that slipped through the cracks. But there's more. Some of these rare 2020 D pennies were struck on the wrong planchets, the blank discs meant for other coins. A penny struck on a dime planchet, lighter, thinner, yet bearing Lincoln's image, is a collector's dream. Another was struck with a broad strike error, the edges stretched unnaturally wide, giving the coin an eerie, one-of-a-kind look. Each of these mistakes transformed a 1-cent piece into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands, even millions. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine that. A single penny, the kind you brush aside, the kind you don't even bend down to pick up, holding the power to pay off mortgages, to fund retirements, to rewrite lives. That is the magic of coin collecting. That is the dream that keeps collectors searching, day after day, year after year. And yet, most people will never notice. They'll spend these coins at the gas station, slide them across a counter, or drop them into a parking meter, never knowing that they just let a fortune slip away. That's why knowledge is everything. That's why awareness changes everything. Because this story doesn't end with one discovery. More of these 2020 errors are still out there. They are hiding in rolls at your bank, in jars tucked away in attics, in drawers filled with forgotten change. Every day, coins exchange hands. Every day, the possibility exists that the next life-changing penny could pass right through your fingers. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Some collectors whisper of a single 2020 penny, struck with multiple errors layered on top of one another, a double die obverse, struck on the wrong planchet, with a broad strike rim. If it surfaces, experts believe it could become the most valuable modern penny ever discovered. The kind of coin that doesn't just sell for $1 million, but changes the very way we see money itself. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Auction houses are on alert. And the community of collectors, from beginners to veterans, is electrified with the thrill of the hunt. 2020. Then check the mint mark. The D must be present, standing for Denver. Next, magnify the lettering. Liberty should reveal signs of doubling. In God We Trust should show shadowing, the kind that makes the letters look etched twice. Look at Lincoln's profile. In some errors, his jawline, ear, or coat show distortions. And always check the weight. A penny that doesn't weigh 2.5 grams may have been struck on the wrong planchet, instantly multiplying its value. It's all in the details. A trained eye, a patient hand, and the willingness to look where others don't. That's how discoveries are made. That's how ordinary people stumble upon extraordinary fortunes. And that's why you can never dismiss a penny again. Because the 2020 Lincoln Memorial Penny has proven that even in our time, even in our pockets, million-dollar miracles are waiting. This penny almost disappeared into a parking lot drain, but instead, it became one of the most shocking million-dollar discoveries in American coin history. At first glance, it looks ordinary. A copper-colored Lincoln Memorial Penny, dated 1991, carrying the tiny D mint mark from Denver. The kind of coin you toss into a tip jar without thinking. But what hides behind this humble coin has stunned collectors, shocked dealers, and rewritten what people thought they knew about modern pocket change. Certain 1991 Lincoln Memorial pennies aren't worth 1 cent. They're worth a fortune. In some cases, up to $1 million. Because this was the year something slipped through the cracks at the Denver Mint. Tiny mistakes in the striking process, slight shifts in die alignment, and mysterious metal compositions combined to produce one of the rarest, most unexpected treasures in U.S. coinage. And here's the chilling part. Most people never realize they've held one. Collectors whisper about the 1991 D with dramatic flair. The off-center strikes where Lincoln's face is shifted, leaving gaps of empty metal. The double die obverse varieties, where Lincoln's profile appears doubled, as if two ghosts were stamped at once. And the few, almost mythical errors where the coin's composition strayed from the standard zinc core, struck instead on a leftover bronze planchet, or even on experimental metals never meant to leave the mint. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One ordinary man, a collector from the Midwest, pulled a handful of pennies from his change jar. He almost spent them on a morning coffee, until one detail caught his eye. Lincoln's date, 1991, looked strange, thicker, doubled, as if echoing across the surface. He sent it in for grading. When it came back, the appraisers couldn't believe what they were holding. The coin wasn't just rare. It was one of the finest known. And at auction, it soared into the stratosphere, fetching a jaw-dropping price. Nearly $1 million. Dealers were stunned. Collectors rushed to their safes and change jars, desperate to see if they too had overlooked this quiet treasure hiding in plain sight. And the buzz has only grown since then. But here's the part most people miss. It's not just about error coins. The Denver Mint in 1991 produced billions of pennies, but only a fraction were struck with absolute precision. The highest grade specimens, those that escaped scratches, dings, and circulation wear, are now the crown jewels of Lincoln Memorial collecting. In pristine, red condition, untouched by time, these coins can bring values that seem impossible for modern pennies. And yet, the errors remain the true legends. Imagine holding a penny that looks like it's melting, its rim cut off by a misaligned die. Imagine seeing Lincoln's profile split in two by a doubling so clear, it looks like an optical illusion. Imagine discovering a bronze planchet, a coin struck on the wrong metal, that was never supposed to exist in 1991. These are the finds that transform a coin worth a cent into a coin worth a life-changing fortune. Collectors were shocked to learn just how many tiny details mattered. A slightly wider rim. A thicker 9 in the date. A mint mark that looked misplaced, drifting closer to Lincoln's bust. Each detail could mean the difference between a penny you spend on gum and a penny that buys a house. But what happened next will leave you speechless. In 2019, another 1991 error surfaced at auction. The bidding war was fierce. Phone lines lit up. Dealers from across the country fought tooth and nail. And when the gavel finally dropped, the room gasped. Another six-figure result, closing in on $1 million, for a coin most people still overlook. Stories like these prove a single coin can change everything. A forgotten penny in your dresser drawer could hold the power to rewrite your future. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And that miracle can happen again. Start with the basics. Look for the D mint mark beneath the date, marking it as a Denver strike. Then check the coin's color. The richest, most vibrant red pennies are worth the most, especially in uncirculated condition. Next, scan the date and lettering. If you see doubling, thickness, or unusual shadows, you may be holding a double die variety. Finally, weigh the coin. A standard 1991 D should come in at 2.5 grams. If it's heavier, closer to 3.1 grams, you may have one of the ultra-rare bronze errors worth staggering sums. Every scratch, every mark, every shine matters. Collectors pay fortunes for perfection, but they also pay fortunes for mistakes. The key is in the details. And here's the most thrilling part. This exact coin could be sitting in your pocket change right now. It could be tucked into a piggy bank, hiding at the bottom of a coffee can, or lying forgotten in an old dresser drawer. It could look so ordinary you almost ignore it. But hidden within that small circle of copper and zinc could be a ticket to a new life. A penny worth $1 million. So, the next time you hold a 1991 D Lincoln Memorial penny, don't dismiss it. Don't spend it. Study it. Treasure it. Because one day, someone will find another, and when they do, it will shake the coin world all over again, and that person could be you. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one collector discovered it, and it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, I'm talking about a penny. A single copper-colored coin that most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. But this one was different. It was a 1992 penny, struck at the Denver Mint, carrying the small D mark that countless pennies have. But hidden within its tiny design was a mistake so rare, so unthinkable, that it turned this everyday coin into a treasure worth over $1 million. Collectors who hear this story are stunned. Dealers who see it are speechless. And once you know what to look for, you'll never glance at your change the same way again. The answer lies in one of the most dramatic and mysterious chapters in Lincoln penny history. It was the year 1992. The United States Mint was preparing for a major design shift. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse, which had been used since 1959, was reaching the end of its reign. Plans were already being drawn up for the Lincoln Bicentennial and the eventual Union Shield design. But in the process of these transitions, tiny mistakes began to creep into production, and one mistake, one almost invisible error, slipped through. You see, the 1992 penny had a design modification. Most pennies from that year have what collectors call the wide AM reverse, the letters A and M in the word America spaced apart. But in a handful of cases, the Denver Mint accidentally struck coins with a design intended for the following year, the close AM reverse, where those two letters nearly touch. It sounds like nothing, just a little spacing. But that microscopic detail changed everything, because once collectors discovered it, the value of these few surviving pennies exploded. One example of the 1992 close AM Lincoln Cent shocked the coin community when it crossed the auction block for a staggering six-figure sum. And in private sales, stories have circulated of values soaring close to $1.1 million for pristine, uncirculated examples. Most people who held these pennies never knew. They spent them at gas stations, slipped them into piggy banks, or left them forgotten in change jars. $1 million treasure, tossed away as nothing. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors began hunting feverishly. Dealers scoured rolls of pennies by the thousands. People who had never cared about coins before suddenly started checking their pocket change under magnifying glasses. Because this wasn't just a rare coin, this was a dream. A life-changing chance to turn an ordinary penny into a fortune. One man discovered his 1992 close AM while sorting through a handful of old pocket change he had saved in a coffee can. He almost threw it back in with the rest until his eye caught something strange. That tiny spacing between the A and the M. It looked too close. He sent it to a grading service, and when the results came back, he could barely breathe. His ordinary penny had become an extraordinary miracle, because rarity drives value. And in numismatics, rarity born from error is pure gold. The Denver Mint struck billions of pennies in 1992. But only a few, a literal handful, have this close AM mistake. That makes them some of the scarcest modern U.S. coins ever produced. And when you combine rarity with condition, the price skyrockets. Picture this. Two collectors in a heated auction room. One knows this penny could be the centerpiece of his collection, a coin whispered about for generations. The other knows it's an investment, a chance to hold one of the most legendary modern errors. Bidding climbs higher. 50,000, 75,000, 100,000. And still the hands rise, until the final hammer drops, echoing like thunder through the room. And a single penny changes hands for the price of a luxury home. Collectors were shocked. Newspapers ran headlines. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, how can you tell if you have one? But before I reveal the exact method, let me remind you of this chilling truth. There are still undiscovered 1992 close AM pennies out there, hiding in drawers, jars, wallets, and piggy banks across America. Some may be sitting in dusty rolls, forgotten in basements. And one of them could be yours. Take a 1992 penny with the D Mint mark. Flip it to the reverse. Look closely at the word America. Now focus on the A and the M. On almost all 1992 pennies, there is a clear space between them, the wide AM. But if the A and M are nearly touching, with just a whisper of space, you have found the close AM. That is the $1,000,000 miracle, but be careful. Many collectors confuse it with ordinary coins. Lighting, wear, and even dirt can play tricks on the eyes. That's why experts recommend using a magnifying glass, or even better, sending it for professional grading if you suspect you have the real deal. Because here's the truth. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1.1 million is so small it can hide in plain sight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors dream of finding one. And every single day, thousands of people unknowingly spend them, never realizing the fortune they're holding. So check your change. Search your drawers. Dig into those old coin jars you haven't touched in years. Because the next great discovery is still out there, waiting to be uncovered. And if you're lucky enough to find it, your life could change forever.